There's a brand new report out that shows that Donald Trump and his family have been worrying about prison consequences for a long time, and that when push comes to shove, Donald Trump has already made the decision. If it's between Don Jr. and Ivanka, he's willing to sacrifice his son to save his daughter. This is important because we've been talking for weeks now about how Trump and the Trump organization, but also Eric, Don Jr., Ivanka, they're all under criminal investigation right now for tax fraud and all sorts of other things, corporate and personal crimes. And that this is really ramping up. The grand jury's ramping up, witnesses are ramping up, people are starting to flip, and this is going to start moving very quickly, very soon. But this isn't new. And so Michael Cohen, in a report that he wrote, basically said that for years now, Donald Trump has been worried that his kids are going to prison. Among the many things Cohen revealed, he cited an occasion in which some legal things seemed to be getting complicated, and it was possible that Donald Trump Jr. or Ivanka Trump could be held accountable for it. It was something that Cohen said he included in his 2020 book Disloyal, but appeared to go largely unnoticed. Cohen recalled Trump saying that if it comes down to Don Jr. or Ivanka going to prison, that it should be Don Jr. because he can quote unquote handle it. And so what you're seeing there is a few crucial things. One, it shows that this legal problem is not new. Donald Trump is calling it a witch hunt, yet behind the scenes for years, when he was president, he was having discussions with his lawyers about his kids going to prison, and if he had to save just one or two of them, he would have to make sacrifices, and they were having that very morbid discussion. You don't have that discussion if you think the charges are fake. You don't have that discussion if you feel that it's just an irrational witch hunt against you. You're having that discussion because you know you did some illegal stuff and your kids did illegal things, and they might face consequences, and so you're like, well, who do we save? I think it's also crucial that Donald Trump never offered himself up. We know this. I'm not saying Trump wants his kids to go to jail, but we have talked about how if the chips were ultimately down, Donald Trump would protect himself over his kids, and if anything, he would expect his kids to fall on the sword for him. He would expect Don and Eric and Ivanka to basically all come out and take the hit for daddy, because he's the most important guy and he's got to be protected. But it also really does show that Trump has a favorite. Ivanka's always been the favorite child. I don't think there's any doubt about it. People have often noted that he loves Ivanka a lot, and sometimes their relationship verges on the creepy, the unsettling in some ways. And so if he had to protect a child, he's willing to sell out his firstborn son to protect the favorite daughter. And I think this also goes down to the relative levels of dumbness of the Trumps. How Ivanka has been playing this very differently than Eric and Don Jr. Eric and Don Jr. have not shut up. They're vocal on social media. They're on Fox seemingly every week. They're always out there launching conspiracies, whining about the lawsuits, whining about the subpoenas, whining about how everyone was mean to daddy when he was president, and they're still mean to him now. And they're likely giving little bits of ammunition to any prosecution against him. Ivanka, I'm not saying she's a genius, but she's staying out of the spotlight, likely in part to protect her image, but also protect her legal behind. And so this really shows that the Trump family is worried. You might think to yourself that there's no way this rich, white, well-connected family is going to face consequences. And you might be right. But the fact of the matter is they're scared. And so Don Jr., I hope you have a good lawyer. And I hope daddy didn't pay for it. Because if it's between you and the favorite, you're going to be in prison.